And I prayed to Adonai. I just, basically, if you're God, give me a sign. And I saw this thing. It was very fuzzy, but it was moving at me at a very quick rate. It was kind of invisible, but when you looked through it, everything was wavy like a funhouse. Even though I didn't really believe in the Bible, and I felt like there was, kings and popes and scribes have changed the Bible for their own reasons, for whatever that happens to be. But maybe the Old Testament is right, and maybe Jehovah is God. And so at noon the next day, I prayed to Jehovah to give me a sign. And I got a phone call within seconds. And at that moment, it was like my heart was a balloon, and Allah went, Well, I grew up in a Christian school and in a Christian family, but at a certain point, I didn't really believe in it anymore.
Why not?
Well, it just didn't make sense. I was able to see that the Trinity didn't match my idea of what God is supposed to be. We say God is one, but, now he's three, and that was a little confusing. And I don't know what major challenges other than sticking with Islam, because, there's all kinds of invitations to leave it. Right? And come back to, hey, the girls, you had a lot of fun over there. Let's go, rock and roll. Let's go. Concerts are waiting for you. The weed's there. The alcohol's there. It's all waiting for you. Just come on back. Come on back, buddy. We love you. Right? But it's wrong. And that's probably the major challenge is sticking to your guns. I accept Islam, and I've got to leave those things behind. I was with an organization, actually amazing dawah in the Philippines, and we would visit prisons. So then we would talk about the Quran, and we would talk about what Allah wants from us. And many people took Shahada. After I became Muslim, I bought a bus ticket where I could go anywhere in America for 2 months. And I traveled around, and I warned people. And sometimes that got me into some trouble, and I realized that to avoid the trouble, I needed to shorten the message down to what was really important. That message was about forgiveness. And I remember being in San Francisco. I was in what they call the Tenderloin, right? This is like where all the prostitutes and drug dealing and all this kind of stuff goes on, because I was like, at that time, I thought, well, these are my people. They're the ones that need the help the most. They're the ones that are hurting the most, and they are. That's how they ended up there. Later in 2010, I had a very strange series of experiences. For me, I understood that the God was real because I did experience it. If God is real and the devil is real, then heaven is real and hell is real. And all I knew is I don't want to go to hell. So now I have to figure out who God is, because I didn't know. God is real, but God is not like a real name. That's just kind of like a description, right? I had read this phrasing from a book by a guy named Pike, who wrote a book called Morals and Dogma, and inside of this book it says Lucifer is God, but unfortunately Adonai is also God. And I thought, well, I know Lucifer, and I don't want to be Team Lucifer, so maybe Adonai is who I'm trying to reach. That night, I was feeling weird, and I was embarrassed because, we had been atheists in my family for so long. I didn't want my wife at the time to see me praying, so I went outside to pray. And I prayed to Adonai. I just, basically, if you're God, give me a sign. And I saw this thing. It was very fuzzy, but it was moving at me at a very quick rate. It was kind of invisible, but when you looked through it, everything was wavy like a funhouse mirror. But all around the outside, everything was normal. The cars and trees and everything looked normal. And it was physically moving at me very fast. And the word that I had at the time was, oh no, this is a demon. And it literally hit me. I believe they're negative energy because it took all of my energy. I couldn't even think about what happened. I just kind of stumbled and collapsed in bed. And I woke up 12 hours later, kind of like hungover, groggy and sore. And I was like, why do you feel like this? What happened to you? Oh yeah, you saw that demon last night. Well, that must not be the right track, right? Adonai must not be who you're looking for. Even though I didn't really believe in the Bible, and I felt like there was, kings and popes and scribes have changed the Bible for their own reasons, for whatever that happens to be. But maybe the Old Testament is right, and maybe Jehovah is God. And so at noon the next day, I prayed to Jehovah to give me a sign. And I got a phone call within seconds. And I have an ID box. It's got a name and a phone number on it. And so I go and I pick up the phone and I say hello. And the person on the other end of the phone said, I got a message last night that somebody at this number was in trouble. And I said, dude, that's a weird thing to say. Who are you? And he said, well, I'm so-and-so, and it matched the name on the box. And I'm a priest. And I thought, wow, man, I just prayed to Jehovah for answers about God, and you called? This is the answer to my prayer. Look, I'm lost, I'm confused, I'm terrified. I see things that people are not supposed to see, and this is too much for me. I think I'm suicidal. I can't take it. I need answers about God. And he said, well, where are you? And I said, well, I'm in Rochester. And he said, I was there last night, but now I'm in this other city about 50 miles away. I said, that's okay. I can be there in a half hour. Just let me ask 5 questions I want to know about God. And he wouldn't let me come. And I said, well, how about tomorrow? And he said, no, busy. And the next day was busy. And finally, it was like 10 days later, he said, okay, you know, we made an appointment. And I hung up happy that finally I'm going to get some answers about God. And then I said, wait a second, let's think about what just happened, right? What was the first thing this guy said? He said that he got a message last night that somebody at this phone number was in trouble, my house. It was a landline, yeah. And I thought, well, what happened? And, oh yeah, you saw this demon that came to your house. And he said he was in Rochester last night, my city, when the demon came. So somehow this guy and that demon must be working together. Because, and I don't care if you're a priest or an imam or a Buddhist monk, when somebody tells you that they're suicidal, you help them. You don't wait 10 days to see if they actually kill themselves. And so I knew there was something that didn't make sense. At that point, the only thing I thought that could be God was Allah. But at the same time, all of that brainwashing from 9/11 and all of that, it's the moon god, subconsciously was still there. And I was afraid to pray to Allah, right? Because I didn't want to make another mistake and pray to something that wasn't the creator of the universe. So I didn't pray. And depression set in. The next day, tears were coming down. Not constantly, but I would start crying. And I thought, this is weird. Why am I crying? And why do I feel depressed? I tried to make the tears stop, but they wouldn't stop. They just came all day long. Friday morning, I got up and my bed was soaked. And I thought, well, what's going on here? And then I realized that my bed was soaked because I had cried all night and the tears had made my sheets wet. And the depression was so intense. I don't have words to describe how bad it was. At that moment, we had those little whispers, right? It's like thoughts in your own head. And it said, look, life is not worth living in this condition. And I thought, you know, me, that's right. Life is not worth living in this condition. What can I do? And then that little thought came to me that said, you have to kill yourself. And I thought, you know what, that's right. That'll solve my problem. I can get rid of this depression by killing myself. And so I went through the logistics of how do you kill yourself, and I determined that the best way to do it was take a bunch of drugs so you feel good, then you die out in the middle of a forest where the animals can eat you and dispose of your body, and it's like a win-win. And then it was like that other little thought came to me and it said, what about the moon? And then I got mad. I was like, oh, that's right. God is real. If you kill yourself, you're going to go to hell. I thought, well, you know, if Allah is the devil, as some people want you to believe, and I kill myself, I'm going to go to hell, and I'll meet him in hell. So why not take a chance and pray to him before you kill yourself? Because maybe you're wrong, like you've been wrong about so many other things. I remember it was 10 a.m. Friday morning, and I stood up, tears just pouring out of my eyes, and I said, Allah, I am lost, I'm confused, I see things that people aren't supposed to see. I'm depressed beyond words and I'm ready to kill myself. And if you're God, you know this. I don't even know why I have to say this out loud. I don't know why you haven't helped me yet. But I'm begging you, if you are God, help. Give me a sign that you're real. Help me. And at that moment, it was like my heart was a balloon. And Allah went, and it literally expanded in my chest. And it filled with a substance that I could only describe as love. And it leaked out of my heart in perfect sine waves. It was very weird and scientific at the same time. And I could feel it go down to my hands, from my heart up to my head, and actually turn around and go back. And it was like these waves of love filled my body. Except in my heart, it was like this star, like this solidness of love had ignited. And it was very brief. That's the first time that I knew that Allah was God. That's the first time that I knew that Allah was God.